Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kent. How are things out in New Mexico?
Well, never better. How about you?
Good. Yeah, it's a little hot here in Kansas City, but you're in Albuquerque. I'm in Kansas City. But what we're going to talk about is the whole country. We want to talk about the healthcare system, and we want to talk about what we're paying and what we're getting and what we're told and what's true and what's not true. The
Great.
problem is we have a government that takes our money and they're not really honest with where it's going and how it's being used. Kent, I saw an article in the New York Times this week where about a nursing home and things weren't all that great there, and the journalist who was writing it was continuing the myth that we got to talk about, which is, gee, if these providers, these for-profit providers, just got more money, things would get better. And that's the myth we need to debunk. They're getting plenty of money, and that I think is what we want to show and where the money's going.
Exactly. Yes.
Now, if we look at what do we know about where our money goes, so let's say in the nursing home system, which we talk about right now, what do we know about that? We hear from the lobbyists, the industry lobbyists, telling us that they're squeezing by on a razor thin net and low margins. But what they're not telling us is, sure, if you take their expenses and deduct that from their revenues, they're not making money. But if you look at how much money they're paying out to their home offices, how much money they're taking in write-downs on their taxes, we can show with the data we have that these guys are doing pretty well. That in fact, some of them are doing really well. And I think that's another problem we want to work on here in terms of what people hear, which is this overall number of zero profits. We'll call them net profits. And what they don't talk about is there's a whole bunch of these providers out there that are claiming they're making something as crazy as negative 900% net interest or net profit. Well, that's ridiculous. Nobody'd stay in business doing that. Even those who say they're making minus 10% doesn't make any sense. We've got out of the 10,000 nursing homes in the United States, we have about 7,000 that are somewhere in a normal curve from zero on one on in the middle to maybe 10% to minus 10%. But we have to look at what all of that means because the money's just flowing through these nursing homes. So if your loved one's in a nursing home and they're not getting good care, it's probably because the person that owns that nursing home is taking out too much money.
Sure. And the at the same time, as you say, they're claiming that they need more money, which we can show with the data when they have received more money, the money still didn't go back into investment in the care and capabilities of the property.
That's right. And let's look at what is a nursing home facility in the whole chain, right? Well, the facility is just a pass-through entity. The money is just passing through that facility. So its books don't mean a whole lot because they're just passing money through to their parent company. And that's where we have to look to see where the money's
Right.
going because they'll put their property in a separate company, what we call separate LLC, right? OpCo.
Yes. Yes.
So the nursing home is just an operating entity. And so they are paying their parent company for management fees. They're paying their parent company or they're paying one of the LLCs owned by the parent company for rent. And you and I will be talking about, well, is that rent fair? No, it's not, but we'll show that. And on and on and on. So they're taking 13% on average, this group in the middle, on average, they're taking 13% of their revenue from Medicare, Medicaid, and whatever people pay out of their pockets. And they're pocketing that at the corporate level and just passing that on through to their investors. They're not taking that money and putting a portion of it back into improving the building, hiring better and training better staff, keeping their staff at a level they should be.
You're making me think of something here, Dave. I have a question. It sounds to me like you're not going to get the owners, to change what they're doing. They're doing exactly what they want to do, and it's working exactly the way they want it to work. So we can't approach them and say, we want to help you solve a problem. They're going to say, what problem? We don't have a problem. So that means to me, and correct me if I'm not correct about this, the change has to come in Medicaid disbursement policy. Medicaid themselves have to say, you have to show us and prove to us that these funds were used in the manner that we dictate in order to be entitled to these reimbursements. If we don't go at that level and do it there, the probability that these people will respond to any kind of different way of operating is pretty remote, isn't it? Am I on the right track?
Oh, you're exactly right. And what we have, Kent, is we have the data, and that's what we're going to be showing on this series of podcasts. We know what the state should be looking at in terms of what these companies are making. Okay. We have the cost reports, and we have those cost reports in a way that no one else, as far as we know, in the United States has them arranged, organized for processing. So what we want to show is the money flows through these nursing homes in a way that's very opaque. It flows into companies that are closely held, as we say, they're private, and they don't show us what all these nursing homes and these real estate entities are feeding into this parent company. So they show all the losses at the facility level, or they show low income at the facility level, when in fact that's irrelevant. But they can lie to the public and say, oh, we're not making any money, because they're only showing us what goes on in the nursing home. Well, the nursing home is what we call pass-through unit. The money just passes through. And the reason they're showing zero or a very low or a negative net income off of their operations is because sending that money to their parent company is an expense. So that's an expense they're deducting from their revenue.
Right, right.
So that game should have been called out a long time ago.
And the only way I could see that to be called out is through Medicaid policy changes. And
Absolutely. It's
yeah,
government. It's
yeah,
regulation, oversight.
right. It even goes deeper than regulation. It basically says you have to use these funds in the manner we designate, or we cannot supply you with the funds. And now, and these companies have alternatives. I mean, they can go private pay if they want to. So it's not like you're shutting them down or putting them out of business. You're just changing how they do what they do, not at the expense of the taxpayer, which is how they're doing it now. Another thing you made me think about, Dave, is the chain. We're seeing. I follow an organization that I receive messages from every day that tracks the transactions in the industry of properties being acquired and traded and so forth and sold. And I'm seeing a very strong trend. First of all, the industry is really robust. These companies can't wait to buy more properties, even though they claim they're not making money, which is an interesting paradox. Further, the size of chains are growing. Fewer and fewer owners, more these owners are owning more and more properties. Now, we know in any industry or business you can think of that when an organization builds a huge chain system, all of the directives and orders come from the top and disperse out to the locations. And those locations don't challenge it, they do what they're told to do. And so there's a total disconnect there between caring for the patient and following the company directives. It's a broken situation. So that's another challenge. I think uh, anything we can do to advise our listeners and watchers to be aware of the property that you're looking at or learning about. Are they part of a huge chain? And ask the
Well,
question, what's that
we're
mean?
we're going to take the data we have and show what exactly what you're saying, because actually this industry has been shrinking in overall uh, size of the buildings, of the patients, of the hours, but they're growing in revenue
Yes,
because this is a privatized public good. It's a privatized form of taxpayer healthcare that we've
mhm,
turned over to private companies. However, they run the system, not the government, and we can show that. So what we
exactly.
really have is a state-sponsored cartel, and we'll explain what that means.
Sure.
They don't worry about revenue because that's guaranteed. They don't have to worry about markets because there's only so many nursing homes that are going to get licenses and so forth. So we have this privatized public good that the taxpayers are really the investors and the owners, but they're not treated
Yes,
that way. The contractors, which are the nursing homes, are treated as owners for the purposes of, are they making enough based on their management, based on their revenue?
right.
What we'll show over 20 years, and we have the data that far, is that their revenue is increasing on a compound annual revenue growth rate of about 4.5%. But this, but their costs are only growing at a rate of about 3.5%. So they're putting less money in and taking more money out, and we can show how that
Exactly.
works.
Sure.
And the
Exactly.
American people aren't told that. They don't know that, which is true of so many things about
Mm,
healthcare and the people's money. And we have to
yep.
change that attitude. This is the people's money. It's not the money that belongs to CMS, the government, or to the people who are contracting to provide the service.
Right.
But they
Right.
begin acting like it is their money.
It's clearly and doing very well in that regard. So
Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, in the bigger scale, you look at United Health. Their attitude is it's our money, and therefore we can pay our CEO $27 million a year and spend $12 billion in stock buybacks
Sure.
rather than put that into Medicare so that you pay less as a patient, or that they don't deny you treatment. So you can't go to the doctor and get something taken care of because the insurance company doesn't want to pay for it. It's not their
Right.
money. So we do have very weak regulation, as we'll be showing in this series of podcasts.
Okay. This is a very good intro here, Dave, where we're headed and what we plan to share with people. A few summarizing comments here before we log off on this particular session.
Yeah, I think as we go down the road, Ken, here's what I would summarize our purpose and what this first podcast is that the people of America who pay for nursing home care are getting bad care, but they're paying for it, and they don't know where the money's going. They don't know how much they're paying for what they're
Right.
getting. And they're getting a lot of propaganda from the industry, which is very powerful, has a lot of money, and we'll be talking about that. So they can capture government, as we say, or they can influence legislation to keep us, number one, in the dark, number two, to take out more than they should. And I think this is typical of what happens when you privatize a public good, which is healthcare. Instead of having it a public system, it's turned over to the investors. Before long, they're putting enough money into the legislature to control the flow of capital,
Right.
to control regulation. So that's what we want to show.
Yes. Yes. that's the story. And as you say, we have all of the data and ways to share and show that data so that people can comprehend exactly what they are, how they're being duped, basically. I'm just going to say it that way.
I
And
will submit to you, Kent, and you know this, that we have the best data system in the United States for nursing home care and sorting out where the money's going.
uh-huh.
So I'm anxious to begin to get that out to people to counter the propaganda that we're getting from the industry.
Right, right. Okay, Dave, thanks a lot for these helpful insights. And to our viewers, I look forward to sharing more of this with you, and we will keep you apprised of when our next episodes are coming out. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent.